I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. And someone reached out after seeing my video. So I did a video about 5 months ago covering this case. For anyone that's brand new to this case, I will be doing a brief overview. So Netflix has a documentary called Tell Them You Love Me. And I have my original video linked down in the description if you want to check it out. And from this video, someone reached out that is he's a Black disabled man that has the same diagnosis as the victim in this series and really just wanted to give him a voice. So I was able to pre record an interview with him, and we are going to get into that right after this introduction. Because this is live. So the interview is pre recorded, but I am going to answer y'all's questions. I would like to let the interview just play. And then at the end, I'll come back and answer y'all's questions. So, Netflix has a series called Tell Them You Love Me. And really, it tells the true story of Anna Stubblefield. And I understand why he reached out about how things were portrayed in the film. It really covered a lot of her history and her background, and I think the documentary tried to present it from a neutral perspective of like, do you think maybe she really do you think maybe he was in love with her, or was this all a projection in her mind? This tells the story of a married white professor, Anna Stubblefield, and a Black man. His name is Derek. He has cerebral palsy, and he was around 20, 25, 26 years old. It might have been 27. Me in details. I apologize for not looking up all of those intricate details, but he was in his 20s when they met. Derek's brother was in Anna's class. So she specialized in disability care and care and services for individuals that were non-speaking. And she used facilitated communication. Sometimes it will be referred to as FC. And the individual I interviewed really felt that facilitated communication got a bad rap in the documentary. He works with disabled youth and also disabled adults that use facilitated communication. And he agreed that Anna Stubblefield crossed boundaries. She ended up getting convicted because she ended up having a sexual relationship with Derek, but outside of the, outside Kurt, I can't with you. So Anna ended up having a relationship with Derek without the family knowing. And so she would say she was going to work with him to do facilitated communication. And as she's working with him, she's telling the family that he likes jazz music, he doesn't like gospel music, and that he likes, that he prefers all these dignified high things. And it was almost as though she was minimizing the family and the family's culture and acting as though she knew Derek better than they did. That was my interpretation. That's what I got from the show and the series. Oy. So let me know if y'all have questions. That is the brief overview. Like I said, please check out the video down in the description box if you want to know more about this case. So Anna Stubblefield, she was convicted, but then her conviction was overturned and she ended up pleading guilty to a lesser charge and she was released. Her original conviction required her to register as a sex offender. I don't believe that the other conviction, I don't believe that it required her to do so. In my opinion. So my opinion, my thoughts from watching the documentary was that she was not aware of her bias. her husband, her ex-husband, so she was married when all this happened. She had a whole family, children, and her ex-husband called her a narcissist. And so there were some things that came out that really had me personally questioning her motivations, and how was she the only one that was able to get some of this information out of Derek. I do have closed captions available for the interview. I used a new software. It's called, and I get nothing for saying this, like, I found a software that did a phenomenal job transcribing the interview. I did have to go back and correct some things. It's called Veed.io, so Veed.io, and it was very helpful in transcribing this interview. All right. So let me share that tab. Like I said, I will be ooh, and so my tab went away. I think I pressed stop sharing. I hope y'all are having a good day. This is right before we head into the new year. I will be doing a year in review right after this. So let me know if y'all have questions. I'll be monitoring the chat, and I'll be right back after the interview. I'm really excited to have Leroy Franklin Moore here today. He reached out after seeing one of my videos, and we want to dive deeper into a topic that I covered in a previous video that I will link down in the description. Can you go on ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm Leroy Moore. I'm a Black disabled man going for my PhD at UCLA. I've been doing advocacy since the 80s. I was the consultant producer on the movie Tell Them You Love Me. So they reached out to me, and I was a consultant on that movie, being a Black disabled man with CP, just like Derek. He having years and years of experience working with youth with disabilities, all kinds of disabilities, non-speaking, speaking, and so yeah.
All right. And what was something that you really wanted to share that maybe wasn't covered in the movie?
Oh, so much. There's a couple of things that I want to get into. Let me put up my list. I want to make sure that the audience know that I was a consultant producer on the film, and also I like I said, I've worked with disabled youth all my life since I was a teenager. So I come with experience, and also really wanted to agree with a lot of videos that's going out there that the lady, I forget her name, she's definitely guilty.
Okay.
Definitely. I'm not saying that. She's definitely guilty. But there's a bigger picture, and of course, with movies, you can't get to the bigger picture. You have to sum it down. And when I was a consultant in the movie, I told them, I said, "There's a bigger picture here," and the bigger picture is, and I'm not attacking anybody else, but the bigger picture that I saw and that I brought up in our meetings is that one is that I didn't know until the end that it was like one-sided, like it was just dogging facilitated communication. I didn't know that. Although I saw bits and pieces of the full movie, but I didn't know there was going to be a hit piece on facilitated communication. If I knew that from the beginning, I probably wouldn't do it.
And if I could, because my perspective from watching the movie is, I think, so Anna Stubblefield was the individual that was found guilty. I think those charges were later overturned, but in the situation, the issue I had when watching the movie was the way she did facilitated communication, and that there seemed to be a bias that wasn't acknowledged on her part. I've worked with individuals that use communication devices, and those devices have been so helpful in giving them a voice. And there isn't just one person that can help them. Like normally you would see similar results across multiple people. And in this show, and because what I got from it was that she was the only one that was able to get this information. I did think the show did, and that's where I like having different perspective, because I think you watched it wanting to make sure that people knew how important this device can be for people that don't communicate verbally, that don't use words, or and you might help me with some of the language, because I want to use the language that's common
Yeah,
within the community, because there are people that the way they use their voice, they might use pictures. So I've worked with
yeah,
kiddos with on the autism spectrum, and we've used pictures to help them communicate, or
yeah.
we've used different things that have been very helpful in giving them a voice, and it helps reduce their frustration, and because they're able to communicate what's going on.
And that's another thing is that all the other boys that I used to do respite care use different things. It's not only facilitated communication; they use different things all through their lives, and that took years and years to to have them use it. That's another thing of the movie that I brought this up in a consult in our meeting, and I didn't want to really hit the parents, but I was struggling with the parents. Like, see, he is 20 something years old, and you're just now getting on facilitated communication. All all my boys, I can't call them boys no more. But all the people that I did respite care, I met them when they were 8, 7 years old, and went through all the types of communication. And God, we tried so many other ways, and they let me know when I got things right. So that's the thing that um really had me trouble. I mean, even like I said, even in our meetings, it's like I'm not I don't want to put it on the parents' shoulders, but I was like, dude, he is 20 something years old. I mean, he
And that
he he right now he's used to having you do almost everything, or having yes and no questions throughout his life.
and that's where I think sometimes people aren't aware of what resources are out there. And so that's where I wonder if the school. So I know a lot of students I work with, they're identified first sometimes by the school, or the doctor refers for speech therapy, and they get occupational and physical therapy, and they get all of these tools around the individual. And then also I know sometimes for some families, and this isn't an excuse, it's just to kind of help understand. I think sometimes families aren't aware that early intervention can often, like, that, just how important that can be down the road.
It's you you have to be aware, because if you're not, you end up with this case. I mean, the the thing that really got me is at the end, like after he went through all of this roller coaster, he's gonna go back in his room. And I was like, there has to be a part two with this, because he has to go to therapy and all this stuff, because he went from his room in his day program to going to school to having this so-called communication, to go through all that, and now he's going back to his room in his day program. That's like, wow. And I brought that up in a meeting. It's like this. I mean, throughout the whole program, throughout the whole movie, there's no his voice. It's always his mother, or this lady, or his brother. But yeah, that really irked me. I was like, at the end, I was like, no way.
And
He has to get something. I mean, he just went through a roller coaster.
that's where I wonder if it could have also been a lack of trust from the family, because I can just imagine a family going through something like that, bringing Anna into their home, into their lives to try to get help, and then that help causing harm. I know of situations where that has made it very difficult for the family to reach out for help and support again. And I think you're just trying to give Derek a voice in this, or to make sure that people know that his story shouldn't end there, that he,
Mm.
if the family did still want to seek communication tools, or that there are things available. And I do believe his brother was getting a, I think, doctorate in a field that provides information about different communication options, about different options. But
Yeah, yeah. And once again, going back to the quote unquote expert, I went on his website. That's his job. is to downplay facilitated communication.
Oh, okay.
So when I saw that, it's like, okay, there's only one voice. There's no balance here. And if you go to the website, that's his job. And also just my experience, and probably I'm not open because I'm biased, but you just don't come out and test a person without getting to know him. I mean, I can go through my experience having CP. When I was in front of the doctors, I was a good boy. I was doing anything I was quote unquote talking like, walking straighter.
I'll start
When
your
I
timer.
got back home, I was back to old Leroy. You know, so when this expert comes to test him for just hours, that's like, of course he's I mean, yeah, yeah.
And so, were there any other things that you wanted to make sure
Oh
that
my God, there's
people?
so much.
Yeah.
Like I said in the beginning, I want to be clear that she's
Mhm.
totally wrong. You know, and I'm here just trying to give Derek some kind of voice. One thing is that we should understand with people with severe disabilities needs years and years of therapy and training. So it wasn't realistic to say that the parents had a couple of days to to work with facilitated communication. Especially when you have a history of 20 something years of yes and no, questions. So it takes years. One young man is 43 right now, and he's still going through, you know, um, therapy and stuff like that. He has his way of communication, but it changes. He's like everybody has. So so that I it's interesting. I understand why I was not involved with the promotion of the movie when my contract was over, because I totally have a different viewpoint than the producers. And I did the reason I reached out to you, because I was looking at all these videos that he was on and that the friends are on, and it's like no nobody so far talked about the other issue. He's always talked about I I still can't say her name.
Anna Stubblefield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was only talking about Anna and never talked about the future of Derek. Like I said, the mother's information around other techniques of communicating with her son. That could be institutionalized isms. My mother went through the same thing when she had to go and get services, because being black and having a black disabled child, the disabled community is still white. Those organizations are still white. So, you have to really be strong and be constant, and, going back and back and back to really get the services that your son or daughter needs. And I know it was that's again that's a shortfall of movies, because you only have an hour or so to tell the movie. And I brought that up in all of our meetings. I think there's just there's so much stories that are left behind.
And what specific resources or what things or where can people go to find or research some of these tools that can be helpful for families?
Well, my mother, going back to my mother, my mother really got me into agencies when I was a preteen. So, for example, my mother knew that this is in the 80s, back on the East Coast. I was living in Connecticut. She found out that United Cerebral Palsy at the time had a black woman that was a black woman with the same disability that I had, was an executive director. My mom got me into that organization like right away, because she wanted me to see, the future of what I could be, and seeing, Beverly Jackson, a, a disabled Black woman that had my disability,
Mhm.
and that was the executive director, and that was kicking out services. And I think for parents out there, it's really getting into disability, not only disability services, disability culture, disability history. My mom had Porgy and Bess on TV because she wanted me to see Porgy, a disabled Black man, and that totally changed my. So the parent really has to do their homework when it comes to, especially now because it's so easy. They have computers, they have the internet now. My mom didn't have that stuff.
Yep.
So it's so easy and it's so important for especially a Black disabled man. So important to have that and to have your own voice and to have ways of communicating with your family. So
And I'm sure that you've worked with people that progress for them might, because different people are going to have different levels of progress. Like, are there some that maybe aren't able to live independently that still do require support of their family?
well, there's in-home support services. That's one thing. That's another thing that Black families need to get over. there's in support, in home and support services. There's respite care, which I used to do. And then the parent was very strong, so I used to take this young man, out in the community. We didn't stay at home. We were out. We were going for ice cream. We were walking the streets of San Francisco. So there's services out there like that. So the parent needs to really get over it and really say that they want their child out in the community, not
And
at home 24/7.
And something that happens, I know I'm in Virginia, and something that happens is people get the services that they can afford, not necessarily the services that they need. In my state, Medicaid, that's the program that provides the most resources where there are in-home supports. Private insurance. So if a family has private insurance only and they don't qualify for other services, sometimes home-based services, all of those can come at a cost. And so I like to point out some of the difficulties that can definitely happen when families are trying to connect, when they are looking for resources and support. In Virginia, we have what we call community services boards, where anyone, no matter their income, based on the level of need, they can qualify for services. But some families, they might not even know that if their therapist doesn't know, or if the people supporting them aren't aware of that. I work with a lot of caregivers or parents of adult children that have significant mental health or significant concerns. And then I've also worked with partner spouses of individuals that just need additional support. And me as the therapist being aware of what's there or taking that time to do the research to find what tools could be helpful. That's part of the reason why I like to share and talk about these topics is what can we get from this? What can we take away? What can people learn? And so I'll make sure to look up some different resources and tools and put them down in the description box, because sometimes people aren't connected with their local cerebral palsy group, or like there might be groups, there might be, now we have Facebook groups, there might be these tools that are available where somebody can say, this is my situation, this is my insurance, because sometimes you can go to your insurance carrier to be like, hey, this is what my child needs. In my state, before an individual turns 21, sometimes it's difficult after the age of 21 to have to have certain services. And so that's where I'm an advocate for change, to help policies. I'm glad that kids can stay on their parents' insurance until they're 26 now, I think 25, 26. And then that the family, sometimes I've worked with some families where they needed to help support because they needed to be able to make some of those appointments for their adult child, or they needed to help support them along the way, and finding doctors, support people that were going to be supportive and helpful along that way was beneficial.
It's interesting, how I got into respite care is through day programs.
Mhm.
And, as you saw in the movie, therapists and day programs, one thing it comes down to the parent. All my parents saw that I was really not only really good with their child, but was pushing them. Matter of fact, I got fired in 2 day programs because I was pushing them because I had a high a high self what's it, not self esteem, but I had a high I wanted them to do good, and to experience life that, and most of the people there just wanted to, sweep them, watch another movie, and no, I wanted them to really get, so I really pushed them, and parents saw that, and parents say, okay, let's get Leroy to do resident care outside of the day program. And I saw that in the movie. I was like, oh, this is a good opportunity for her to really sit down and say, okay, this person is really pushing my child. Let me hire him so he can be a best buddy or a big brother to my son. And those parents did that to me when their child was like 7, 8 years old, and they grew up with me pushing them, and they know that they can't get over it. It's interesting because I used to see them on my days off with other resident caretakers, and they were running their game. And I was like, you are running your game. You know you're running your game. So
So you knew that they could do more than what
um,
they were doing with the other staff.
oh yeah, they're running their game. I mean, when I don't know Derek, but when I saw the mother walk Derek into the court, I was like, he can't walk. It's interesting because all my boys, you know, started out that they would lean on me and and make me do everything, and you know a couple only a couple months with me, they started walking on their own because I pushed that. It's like, dude, come on, if you can lean on other things, you can try walking on your own, and they did.
And
It took a
and
while.
I and I think a part of that was also the trauma of what happened to her son. I think me personally, I don't know them personally. I don't know that for sure, but I follow a lot of court cases, and in a situation like that, I'm sure somewhere, even if it was subconscious, she likely wanted the jury to see,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
he was
yeah,
taken advantage of. He
yeah,
needs support. He needs safe people in his life because he really relies on other people.
yeah. And that's another thing that I was not shocked on because it happens every day. Nobody on that jury had a physical disability.
Mm.
I was like, how can it's like an all white jury for a black person. It's like, come on.
And they did find her guilty. What was overturned? It was overturned later due to legal, like it was over. But they did
Yeah,
find her
yeah,
guilty.
yeah, 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 yeah. I know. Yeah. So
Were there any other points that you wanted to make sure that people kind of took away or understood? So it sounds like you have a different perspective of facilitated communication.
yeah,
So have you worked with clients that use facilitated communication?
yeah, 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 yeah. From 5 of my young men, kids like kids boys, 4 of them use facilitated communication. But that's not all that they use. They
Yeah.
use different things too. So yeah.
And when they're using it, is it similar to how it was shown in the show, or did it look different? How you've seen
You
it
know,
in practice in general?
yeah, it was it was different in the same at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, I would hold their hand. They would hold my hand.
Mhm,
They would hold my hand, and and they would guide it. So that they would do the pushing.
mhm.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing the pushing. Some one just needed a tap on the shoulder, and they could do it. So it's different from different people. That's another thing about the movie that really put facilitated communication back so many years because it was shaped as one thing and only that thing, and that's not that. Come on, it's like,
Okay.
how can you be an expert and test all these people and say there's only one way of doing one thing? That's not life.
Mhm. So there are different ways of doing it, and also that there can be different methods that people use.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
No, just wanted to say that once again, um, it takes years, and constantly doing it. One boy is 43 years old. He's constantly, doing it. So it's not only a one-time thing where the movie, puts that in. And yeah, I think that's it. And really, I want to tell parents out there, or caregivers, or whoever, start early. Start early. If it's your son and your daughter, you want to communicate with, if not, if you have to communicate with them. This is off the wall. If you're not gonna have a communication with your own son and daughter, it can't be yes or no questions for 20 something years. It just can't. So yeah, but that's it. Thank you so much for having me. This is my first interview outside of the disabled blog. And I reached out and say, let's do this because yeah, and that's another thing is that this is my fourth movie that I've been a consulting on.
You said fourth?
Yeah,
Nice.
and I noticed that after the movie is done, you're just done. There's no coming on and doing post media interviews. It's just okay. Your work is on your consultant, and it's interesting. And like I said, I reached out to you because I've been seeing these videos with only a one slant, kind of view, and I wanted to open it up. And thanks for you getting back because most of them don't even respond to my email.
And so thank you for reaching out. I think it's really important to give people a voice and to let different communities be heard. And I'm glad that I was able to use my platform just to help share this message. And I hope that whoever sees it, I hope that if they do have an adult child or a child that has some struggles, that needs some support, getting support early. I have a speech impediment. I should have gotten speech therapy when I was in elementary school. And I had this view that getting help was wrong, or getting help meant there was something wrong with you. And if I had been through speech therapy, that probably would have really helped. I have a 7-year-old son, and starting about 3 years old or so, we noticed his speech was kind of bumpy. And the school never noticed anything. The school never said a word. They noticed that, but what was happening is he wasn't speaking as much at school.
That's cool.
And so we got him speech therapy, and then his little voice boomed, and it was so helpful. But as a parent, I had to say, okay, this is what I have to do. And I'm a licensed psychologist. I think it took me like 3 to 6 months to find somebody and then to have an opening. And the place I found was out of network with our insurance. But what happened was we had the resources to just pay out of pocket to get him the help and support that he needs. And so that's why I do like to acknowledge that I think sometimes there really can be barriers. There can be things, and that parents have to keep pushing through, because it can affect a child's self-esteem. It can make somebody think that there's something wrong with them, and they can isolate more, and that can lead to all types of issues. And so I'm really passionate about this. And so thank you for joining me today. But go ahead.
Yeah, and like I said, being Black, I know because Black parents even today, unfortunately, have to go outside the Black community to get the support. Yeah. And in my PhD program, I've been really looking at what I call Black ableism. Yeah. Because it's really killing our Black community. Black disabled people can't come home because of Black ableism. So we really have to deal with that. So Black disabled people can get services in the Black community.
Once you have your research and you're all ready, please reach back out. I would love, and I'm sure that because you can turn your work into a book or a resource. And so whenever you have anything like that available, and then there are people that speak out about these things. I've connected with the community. It's mostly kind of on TikTok and Instagram. I don't know how many of them are over here on YouTube, but there are a few that I know might be helpful if you're looking for different, like if you're collecting research or data. But thank you again for joining me, and I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. All right, y'all. So thanks so much for watching, for engaging, you all. So this community is phenomenal. And Leroy Moore Jr., so he didn't even mention that he is an Emmy award-winning, like, like so he didn't even mention this. So I do have links to his information down in the description. He founded a organization called Krip-Hop Nation, and it's KRIP. And he is a poet, community activist, hip hop and music lover. And his organization gives people with physical and emotional disabilities, it gives them a space to be able to talk. Like, y'all are like warming my heart over here. So everybody was just like, "What an inspiring gentleman." Thank you to Mr. Moore for this info. Like I mentioned, I do have his information linked, and his YouTube is Krip-Hop Nation. I will put that in the chat here because he didn't even mention his YouTube. Krip-Hop Nation. And when he reached out for a interview, because my thing is I always research people first. So I don't just bring any person on. I did some research on him, and he was legit. And I was really grateful to be able to share a voice because I did share the video from the other perspective. And I think I have my mascara, I have my eyeliner. I think I've wiped my eyes or something, like, so squirrel moment for, but yes. I really enjoyed being able to connect with him. We recorded the interview, and I thought it was important to be able to have closed captions for the interview, which was why we didn't do it live. I am really, really grateful for, like I said, this community. Y'all really are the best. And after this video, we are going to start a video where we review the cases from 2024. And so I will move up the time of that stream. Yes, because it says, so I'll move that up to 2 p.m., and we are going to talk about the top cases from 2024 here on the stream. If y'all have any questions, you can put them down in the description. I thought it really was interesting to hear a different perspective and how somebody else viewed that, kind of got to see the behind the scenes on the movie that was in some of the production in meetings. I thought it was interesting to get to hear his perspective and just how passionate he was to try to get Derek's voice into the movie. But I think the angle they were going for with the movie, and these are just my personal thoughts, I don't know this for sure, the movie seemed like it really wanted to tell almost Anna's, because they met with Anna's mom. We knew about Anna pretending to have a disability as a child. It almost seemed to try to get sympathy from her. Almost, I don't know. Like, it was I did enjoy them. Like, the movie was okay. And somebody asked me to watch it and talk about it. But um there are parts of it that are very triggering. And yeah, yeah. That's all I have to say for that right there. I am going to start the next video in about 5 minutes. Thank you all for joining me. If you're not subscribed, if you could hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already hit the like button on the video, it really does help in the little algorithm. I will see y'all in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.